Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're diving into a story of, well, incredible success and, frankly, stark contrasts. It's the Les Wexner and Victoria's Secret story.
Yeah, it really is. We're talking about going from a pretty smart $1 million purchase of a failing brand.
Right, back in '82.
Exactly. To creating this, global cultural force. And then even with all the scandal and the brand kind of imploding later on, Wexner himself still worth something like $9.6 billion in 2025.
It's kind of staggering, that financial endurance, despite the very public issues. So our sources today really map this out, the retail genius, the intense, almost obsessive control.
And that deeply troubling connection with Jeffrey Epstein. It's all tangled together.
So our mission here is to unpack these sources. We want to understand the lessons about power, about control, and what kind of legacy gets left behind.
We're asking, what's the real cost of running that kind of secret empire? How did the very things that built it up also make it so vulnerable?
Okay, let's rewind to the start. 1982. Victoria's Secret wasn't working. Our sources paint a picture of it being, well, pretty uncomfortable.
Yeah, that whole mahogany, dark wood, sort of gentleman's club vibe.
Aimed squarely at men buying lingerie as gifts, which just feels off.
Totally off. The founder, Roy Raymond, kind of missed the mark on who the real customer was or should be. Imagine being a guy in that weirdly secretive store.
Awkward.
Super awkward. And then the woman gets this gift. It just lacked that feeling of, empowerment or fun.
And then Wexner steps in. He's already got the limited doing well. He looks at this situation and sees something totally different.
He asks that key question, right? The million-dollar question, literally. Why sell to men when women are the ones wearing it?
It seems so obvious in hindsight.
Well, yeah, but it was revolutionary then. He got the women wanted to feel good for themselves. Luxurious, confident, aspirational. It wasn't about the male gaze primarily.
So the strategy flips entirely.
Immediately. He ditched that dark, secretive look. Sources say he made the stores bright, airy, like fancy European boutiques.
Better lighting, nicer feel.
Exactly. Good lighting, nice scents, and crucially, the staff were trained to make women feel confident, not like they were sneaking around.
It was about creating an emotion, not just selling a product.
He was selling self-image, packaged as lingerie. And it worked. Fast.
How fast are we talking?
By the early 90s, they hit $1 billion in annual sales. $1 billion.
Wow.
It just hammers home that lesson, doesn't it? Finding the real customer need often unlocks way more value than just tweaking the product. Wexner even said the real secret was just understanding the customer better than anyone else.
So once he nailed that core feeling, the confidence, the sex appeal, he didn't just stop at bras.
Oh no, he built a whole world around it, expanded into fragrances, beauty products, loungewear, making it a lifestyle brand.
And then Pink came along in 2002.
Right, Pink. Smart move, capture the younger market, teenagers, college students, get them into the ecosystem early.
Speaking of ecosystem, Victoria's Secret was part of this bigger thing, L Brands. It had Bath & Body Works, used to have Abercrombie. How important was that structure?
Hugely important. Think about the malls back then. L Brands often dominated key locations. You had shared logistics, shared back office stuff, making it efficient.
Cheaper operations.
Definitely. But also, you could cross-promote. Someone pops into Bath & Body Works, maybe they wander into Victoria's Secret next door. Wexner kind of curated that whole mall experience for a lot of shoppers.
And the pinnacle of that curated experience, the mythology, really, was the fashion show, launched in '95.
Ah, the fashion show. Yeah, that wasn't just selling clothes, it was pure spectacle. A global TV event.
Huge viewership numbers, right? Like over 10 million in the U.S. at its peak.
Yeah, 10.4 million in 2011. Big musical acts, these angels, presented almost like characters in a fantasy. It was all about aspiration, this kind of unattainable glamour.
And the sources stressed just how hands-on Wexner remained, even as it got massive, controlling every little detail.
Oh, yeah. Store layout, the lighting, the smell in the store, the music playing. He believed you could basically engineer the customer's emotional response down to the finest detail.
Which circles back to the idea that empires like this, they sell the lifestyle, the whole narrative. They control the story and the physical space.
Absolutely. But that glossy image, that high-level control, it relied on something much more, granular underneath.
Okay, let's talk about that. The shift from the glamour to the extreme operational control, because that's where the story gets even more complex.
Right. The runway was funded by ruthless efficiency behind the scenes. Wexner wasn't just a big-picture CEO. He was deep in the weeds, obsessed with data.
I remember reading that anecdote, I think it was the Wall Street Journal, that he could tell you the sell-through rate
Of a specific push-up bra
in Phoenix.
last Thursday.
Yeah.
That level of detail is kind of mind-boggling for the CEO of a global giant.
It feels almost impossible to maintain for decades, but apparently he did.
It points to a certain kind of leadership, doesn't it? Where nothing is too small to escape scrutiny. And that fed into his mastery of what they call velocity of capital.
Explain that a bit. Velocity of capital.
Okay, so in fashion, stuff goes out of style fast. Velocity is about speed. How quickly can you get materials, make the product, sell it, and get the cash back to reinvest? Minimizing stuff sitting around unsold, basically.
Keeping the money moving.
Exactly. Wexner was brilliant at this. He used data for everything. Product design wasn't just creative whims. Every lace choice, every color had to prove it could hit the profit margins. It was a cash machine built on constant optimization.
So the fantasy world was built on cold, hard numbers.
Pretty much. And this is where it gets really interesting and maybe a bit ominous. That obsession with total, detailed control over the business. It seems like that mindset carried over or maybe created a blind spot elsewhere.
Which leads us right into the shadow over the whole legacy. That absolute control, the secrecy. It looked like strength, but it seems it created this huge vulnerability personally.
A massive vulnerability. And that brings us to Jeffrey Epstein. In the late 80s, Wexner gives Epstein just enormous control over his personal finances.
It's still kind of hard to grasp the scale of that trust or delegation, especially since Epstein didn't have like a traditional finance background.
None at all. But he gets power of attorney over Wexner's money, properties, even that huge Manhattan townhouse. He was the gatekeeper to Wexner's private world for more than 10 years.
The why behind that is still pretty murky, isn't it? Why would a guy who micromanages bra sales delegate his entire personal fortune?
It's one of the big questions in the sources. It suggests this weird separation, maybe? Like extreme focus on the business allowed for, or maybe necessitated, a complete handover of personal affairs. Almost like outsourcing scrutiny of his own life.
And then, of course, 2019 happens, new charges against Epstein, and suddenly everyone's looking at Wexner.
Inevitably. And reports started coming out, cited in our sources, from former models saying Epstein basically used his connection to Victoria's Secret, his role as Wexner's guy, to approach women.
It gave him credibility he shouldn't have had.
A twisted kind of credibility, yeah. The very power structure and aspirational image Wexner built became, in this context, a tool for potential exploitation.
Wexner did eventually cut ties, right? Said he ended it back in 2007. Claimed Epstein stole money from him.
He did say that, yes, that Epstein misappropriated vast sums. But the questions about what he knew, when he knew it, and why that arrangement existed for so long, those just haven't gone away. They hang over everything.
It's a stark lesson, isn't it? How that kind of concentrated, unchecked power, even if it builds an empire, can also create the perfect storm for things to go terribly wrong.
Exactly. And while all that was brewing and eventually exploding, the brand itself was running into a completely different wall.
Cultural irrelevance.
Yeah, the world changed. And Victoria's Secret didn't change with it, or not fast enough anyway. By the late 2010s, you could really see the cracks appearing.
The irony is thick there. The brand built on understanding the customer completely missed the cultural shift.
Totally missed it. That hyper-perfected, angel-centric image suddenly felt really dated. The conversation moved to body positivity, inclusivity, seeing real, diverse women.
And competitors jumped right on that. Brands like Savage, Fenty, Erie, they built their whole identity around that authenticity.
And Victoria's Secret, under Wexner's tight control, was just too slow, too rigid maybe, to adapt. The fashion show ratings just tanked.
From over 10 million down to what, like 3 million?
Around 3.3 million by 2018, yeah. Then they canceled it altogether in 2019. It just wasn't hitting anymore.
So you've got the Epstein scandal fallout, reports of a toxic internal culture, and the brand message is completely out of sync with the times. That control becomes a huge liability.
The end was pretty inevitable then. Wexner stepped down as CEO in February 2020. After 57 years.
57 years running the show.
An incredible run in terms of longevity. Then later that year, they sold a majority stake to a private equity firm, Sycamore Partners, for about $525 million.
Which sounds like a lot, but for Victoria's Secret, that valuation tells a story of serious decline.
Oh, absolutely. From billions in value to that, it shows how far it had fallen. But here's the final twist, the paradox we started with.
Right, the brand creators. But Wexner himself.
His personal fortune remained enormous. He was smart financially. He kept some ownership, became chairman emeritus, and crucially, he'd already diversified his wealth way beyond just L Brands.
Moved into other areas.
Yeah, real estate, other investments.
Yeah.
Sources mention things like AI infrastructure, high growth areas.
So even with the brand's reputation damaged and its value shrunk, his personal wealth strategy worked.
Which is how you end up with that $9.6 billion net worth figure in 2025.
Yeah.
It kind of proves that a diversified financial legacy can, in some cases, outlive the brand that built it, even amidst scandal.
So wrapping this up, it really is a story with two sides constantly rubbing against each other. The brilliant business insight, the incredible empire built on control.
And then that same control breeding rigidity, creating ethical blind spots and ultimately failing to adapt. The system that built it also, in a way, contained the seeds of its crisis.
The ultimate lesson here maybe is about the nature of that control. Building walls can feel safe, can create stability.
But if those walls are too high, too opaque, you can't see the threats coming, and you can't change when you need to. Eventually, they stop protecting you. They trap you.
So a final thought for you listening. Where in your world, your work, your interests, might that intense desire for control, for sealing everything off, actually be creating the biggest risk? Sometimes the most dangerous secrets aren't external threats, but the vulnerabilities we build into our own systems.